I never imagined that my life could break in just one night. Love and betrayal collided in the same room. My boyfriend, my sister, and me. What I saw with my own eyes changed everything. This is my story, a story of love, of lies, of secrets that no one wants to face. I always thought my life was normal. I had a boyfriend, I had a sister, and I believed in both of them. My boyfriend's name was Daniel. He was sweet. He was careful with me. He made me laugh when I was tired. He told me I was beautiful even when I felt ugly. I trusted him. My sister's name was Laura. She was younger than me, but she was smart. She was confident. She was the kind of girl that people notice immediately. When she entered a room, everyone turned their heads. I never imagined they could hurt me. Not them, not together. But life has a way of breaking illusions. It started with small things. Daniel canceled plans with me. He said he was busy. He said he had work, but his excuses felt weak, and my heart felt uneasy. Laura began acting strange too. She avoided my eyes. She stayed longer on her phone. When I entered the room, she sometimes hit her screen. I thought it was nothing. I wanted to believe it was nothing. But deep inside, I felt a storm. Something was wrong, and I could not stop thinking about it. One night, I decided to surprise Daniel. It was a Friday. He told me he had to work late. I believed him, at least. I wanted to believe him, but my mind would not rest. So I took my car and drove to his apartment. The building was quiet. The lights on his floor were on. I felt nervous. My hands were shaking. I walked slowly, my heart beating louder than my steps. When I reached his door, I heard laughter. It was a laugh I knew, but it was not his. It was hers, my sister's laugh. Clear, sharp, familiar. I froze. My body stopped moving. My breath disappeared. I pressed my ear against the door. I heard voices. Soft, close, too close. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run. But my feet betrayed me. They stayed. They waited. The door was not locked. With one push, it opened. And what I saw cut my soul in pieces. Daniel was there. My sister was there. Together, their bodies. Close. Their faces closer. Her smile. His hands. A picture that burned my heart. They looked at me. Shock filled the room. Daniel's face turned pale. Laura's smile died instantly. No one spoke. The silence was heavier than any scream. I felt my chest explode. My legs trembled. Tears came without permission. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I just stood there, watching the two people I loved most destroying me. Finally, I found my voice. How could you? That was all I said, but it was enough to break everything. Daniel tried to speak. It's not what you think, he said, but I laughed, a broken laugh, because it was exactly what I thought. And even worse, Laura didn't move. Her eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. Silence was her only answer. I turned around. I ran out. The night was cold, but my body was burning. My heart was fire and ice at the same time. I drove without direction. The streets passed like shadows. My hands were on the wheel, but my mind was gone. I asked myself the same question again and again. Why? Why them? Why together? I reached the beach. I parked my car. I walked to the water. The waves crashed hard. The sound matched my chest. Loud, violent, endless. I sat on the sand. I cried until my eyes hurt. I cried until I had no more tears. Every memory of Daniel burned. Every laugh with Laura cut deeper. The betrayal was double. A lover and a sister. Together, I stayed there for hours, thinking, remembering, trying to find signs I had missed. Had Daniel looked at her differently before? Had she smiled too much when he was around? Had I been blind all along? My heart broke in silence, but my mind refused to stop. I thought about family. I thought about loyalty. I thought about love and how fragile it all really was. The night grew colder. The stars watched me from above. I felt small. I felt empty. But deep inside, something was waking up. A tiny voice. It whispered, "You are still here." I wiped my tears. I stood up. I looked at the horizon. The waves were still strong, but I was stronger. At least, I wanted to believe that. I walked back to my car. I drove home. My house was dark. My bed was cold. But I knew one thing. My story was not over. It was just beginning. The morning after felt unreal. I opened my eyes. For a second, I forgot. For a second, I believed life was normal. But then the memories crashed back. Daniel, Laura, together, and me, broken. I stared at the ceiling. My chest felt heavy. My room felt like a prison. Every corner reminded me of the lie. The air was sharp. It cut my lungs. It cut my heart. My phone buzzed. It was Daniel. Dozens of messages. Dozens of missed calls. I couldn't look at them. I couldn't hear his voice. Because I already knew the truth. And the truth was poison. Then came Laura's messages. Long texts. Apologies. Excuses. She begged me not to tell our parents. She said she made a mistake. A mistake. The word felt like an insult. A mistake is forgetting your keys. A mistake is burning the dinner. But this was not a mistake. This was a choice. I turned off my phone. I wanted silence. I wanted distance. But silence only made the voices in my head louder. Their faces, their laughter, their betrayal, the next days were torture. I avoided them both. I avoided my family too. I walked like a ghost. I smiled when people asked. But my smile was empty. No one knew I was bleeding inside. One evening, Laura came to my door. She knocked softly. She whispered my name. I wanted to ignore her, but part of me needed answers. So I opened the door. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She looked small. She looked guilty. But guilt was not enough for me. Why? I asked. My voice was calm, but my hands shook. She looked down. Tears rolled down her face. I don't know, she whispered. You do know, I said. You chose him. You chose to betray me. She cried harder. She reached for my hand. But I pulled away. Her touch burned me. Her presence broke me. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. But I laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh. Of course you meant it. You wanted him. And you took him. Don't pretend it was an accident. She covered her face. She collapsed on the floor. She kept saying sorry, sorry, sorry. But the word had no meaning anymore. Sorry could not heal my heart. Sorry could not erase what I saw. I closed the door. I left her there, crying, begging. But I had no more tears left. Days turned into weeks. Daniel kept trying. He waited outside my work. He sent letters. He even called my friends. He wanted forgiveness, but I could not give it. Not now, maybe. Not ever. One night, he showed up at my house. I almost didn't open the door, but I did. He stood there. His face was tired. His eyes heavy. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Please, he said. Just listen. I crossed my arms. I said nothing. So he spoke. He told me he was confused. He told me it meant nothing. He told me he still loved me. But every word sounded empty, because love and betrayal cannot live together. Not in the same heart. Not in the same house. Do you love her? I asked. Silence. A silence longer than any answer. His silence was my answer. And it broke me again. I closed the door. I locked it. And I cried. Not for him. Not for her, but for me, for the girl who trusted too much. For the girl who believed to easily dot the months past, slowly, painfully. But time is strange. It doesn't heal you, but it teaches you how to carry the pain. I learned to wake up without checking my phone. I learned to smile without forcing it. I learned to be alone without feeling empty. The wounds were still there, but I was learning how to live with them. One afternoon, I walked by the same beach. The waves were softer this time, the wind calmer, and for the first time, I felt peace. Not happiness, not joy, but peace. I realized something. Daniel and Laura had taken something from me, but they had also given me something. They showed me the truth. They showed me who they really were, and in that truth, I found my freedom. I was no longer living in illusions, no longer holding fake love, no longer trusting blind loyalty. I was free. I walked along the sand. The sun painted the water gold. I closed my eyes. I breathed deep, and I smiled, a real smile, because I knew one thing: they had broken me. But I was not destroyed. I was still here, and I was stronger. Life has a cruel way of teaching lessons. Sometimes the lessons hurt. Sometimes they leave scars. But scars are proof that we survived. That night, I looked in the mirror. I didn't see the girl who cried on the beach. I didn't see the girl who begged for answers. I saw a woman who had been through fire and was still standing, and I promised myself one thing: I would never let betrayal define me. I would never let lies control me. I would never let pain decide who I am. I am more than what they did to me. I am more than their choices. I am more than their betrayal. And so I closed that chapter, not with hate, not with revenge, but with strength and with freedom. Because sometimes losing people you love is the only way to find yourself.